Hi, everybody, and welcome. You're here. I'm here. Oops, I have stuff scrolling. I was testing out my scrolling things and I forgot to turn that off. That's for later. That is for later. So, I'd like to welcome everybody to the show. Today, we're talking about serial killer Bobby Joe Long. Have you heard of them? Him? Have you heard of him? I hadn't heard of him until recently, and he killed like a lot of people, guys. I don't know why I hadn't heard of him before. I mean, what are you going to do? Well, after today, you will have heard of him. I'd like to first of all say hello to everyone in the chat, including News Now Enemy. Good to see you. Life to the Max. I am so happy when Life to the Max can make it because she doesn't make it all the time, but I love her very much. Quest, nice to see you. Number 2 is here. Thank you for being here. And let's check the other. Base Babe. Hey, nice to see you, Base Babe, over there on Rumble. Don't forget, guys, if you want to donate, we have to do it on Rumble because YouTube, you know, they're mean. They're mean to me. We have this little love-hate relationship. I thought I loved them and they hate me. So go over to Rumble, donate there. If you'll notice, we're not lagging today. Things should be better. I spent a bunch of money this weekend and got my computer fixed. Fingers crossed that everything works. I have a couple of videos I'm going to show to you later, so fingers crossed that it works. The nice thing about Rumble is that you're monetized almost immediately. I see Finding the Faith over there on Odyssey as well. Nice to see you. Glad you're here. Emma Q, Abby Libby over there on Rumble. Hello. I'm going to try to remember to look at all of the chats. All of them. So I guess let's get started. First of all, we need to have Xena on the screen and Ava. She's here too. We're skipping OBS this time. I'm backwards? I am backwards. Oh man. I can fix that. Everyone who's listening to the audio only, this is the fun stuff you miss. I'm backwards right now. Now I'm right way. Okay. I apparently recently, the program that I use changed its ways to where it automatically comes up mirrored unless you click a button. So I'm better now. So we're going to be talking about Bobby Joe Long. And just to get started, this happened in the Tampa area or in Florida in the 1980s. So let's get some pictures up. Bobby Joe Long was born October 14th, 1953. And there he is. We will, let's do that so you can see him. I have some stuff queued up there for later, but for now, there he is. So Bobby Joe Long was born October 14th, 1953 in a town called Canova, West Virginia, to Joe and Louetta Long. Louetta Long left her hometown in West Virginia in 1955 with her 2-year-old son, Bobby Joe, shortly after she decided to separate from her husband, Joe Sr., or Joe the father. Yeah, Ava is getting big, isn't she? Horatius. She's behaving now. She's not streaming on stream, which is good. Long was born. Okay, so basically, here's what happens. It's so much better when I just tell you guys about it instead of reading whatever I wrote. Who cares what I wrote? Who cares? He was born in 1953. His mom almost immediately divorced the dad and took the son and moved to Florida away from the dad. Now, I don't like this because a boy needs his dad in his life. And I'm not saying that that's why he did what he did. There's a lot of things that happen in this guy's life that sound like they're excuses. I want to let you know right now, anything that I say about his background is not an excuse. It's not an excuse. It's just stuff that happened to this guy. Whew. All right. Back to the story, because there's a lot of it. So and we're coming up like right now with some of it. Bobby Joe Long was born with an extra X chromosome. This is also known as 47XXY, which is a specific variant of Klinefelter's syndrome. The condition results in excessive estrogen production, yielding some female traits such as breast development as a teenager. Bobby Joe Long was teased as a teenager, as a kid and as a teenager because he had boobs. I didn't at that age, but he apparently did. He underwent breast reduction surgery at the age of 13. He was also had some sort of deformation on his chin from a bicycle accident. Hold on, I have a bicycle picture. He had multiple injuries as a child, including several head injuries. So he suffered from traumatic brain injury from that biking accident. Again, this is no excuse for anything that he did. He had traumatic brain injury. He had Klinefelter syndrome, which, you guys know how I like to research. So as I was researching this case, I'm like, Klinefelter syndrome. I've heard of this before, but I'm not positive I know exactly what it is. So I looked into it, and one of the symptoms of Klinefelter syndrome is that you have a low, sex drive. But as we'll find out when I'm telling you the story, this guy could not stop raping. He just raped every chance he got. So it's kind of weird that he had the Klinefelter syndrome, which is the symptoms is having a low sex drive and boobs apparently. But he just couldn't satiate his need to sexually assault women, which is kind of crazy. You would think that it would have the opposite effect. All right, so he's got the deformed chin. He's got the traumatic brain injuries. He has a very, very dysfunctional relationship with his mother. He slept in the same bed as her until he was a teenager. Just kind of creepy. She was a very overbearing, which, as we talked about this, guys, about overbearing moms. I think I talked about this on Jess's show when we were talking about which book was that? The Killer Across the Table. I think we talked about the overbearing moms. Jess, you're in the chat. Was it that one or was it the other one? It might have been both of them. But having an overbearing mom as a teenage boy really messes with somebody's head. And there's a lot of serial killers that you'll see the same pattern where they have this overbearing mom. So he slept in the same bed with her until he was a teenager. Reportedly, he resented her because she had multiple short-term boyfriends that she brought back to the house with her late at night, and she would bring them home from her job. By the way, his mom worked at a gentleman's club called Big Daddy's in Miami, Florida. So she would bring these clients home. From what I understood, she was like a waitress or a bartender there. She wasn't necessarily a stripper, although the internet could be candy coating it as well. She could have very well been a stripper. I don't know. But there she is there. I don't know why they blacked out her eyes. You can still totally tell, like if you knew her, you would know that was her, right? They put a black box over her eyes for some reason in that photo. That's the only picture I could find of her. So she'd come home late at night with all these men, like several a week. And this is psychological abuse because I mean, seeing his mom dress in kind of slutty clothes and bring home multiple men every week, like as a adolescent and teenage boy, you don't want to think of your mom as a sexual person. Like she needs to be asexual as much as possible, in my opinion. You know, I tell me, guys, if you think anything different. Horatio says many had floozy single moms like he did that led to sexual confusion and perversion. True. It's just one of those things, like if you're a mom, that needs to be your first priority, in my opinion. Like finding a dude should not be your first priority. Like if it happens, it happens. And you deserve to be happy too if you're a single mom, but come on. And the fact that she took the kid and moved across the country in 1950, whatever I said it was, it's not like nowadays where you could just like there wasn't interstate highways then. You couldn't just jump on the highway and be there in 9 hours or jump on a plane and be there in a couple hours. Like it basically moving from West Virginia to Southern Florida is like moving across the world at that point. So. All right. There was another thing that happened when he was a kid. His mom took him to the beach where she was distracted by looking at and talking with different random men at the beach in Florida, and Bobby Joe almost drowned to death. This made the resentment towards his mom grow even stronger. And it turned from just resentment towards his mom into like just hating women in general. He was also made fun of at school, like I mentioned before, because of, he had that Klinefelter syndrome and stuff. So I think probably women made fun of him at school as well. I didn't read that anywhere. I just put two and two together. Okay, so Bobby Joe Long is now in high school. He meets Cynthia Bartlett in 1974. They ended up getting married. So it's a long time, like childhood. Here's him as a kid and as a teenager. He meets Cynthia Bartlett when he's a teenager, and they end up getting married. There's their wedding picture. Of course, she didn't know what a weirdo he was at the time. But in 1974, they get married. She ends up having 2 kids. And in 1980, he ends up having a motorcycle accident, which gave him another traumatic brain injury. And after that, he became very abusive towards her. She got beat up one night and decided enough's enough. The cops actually came out and she begged them not to arrest him because he would have lost his job. He was how she paid for kids, like all the kids stuff and stuff like that. But the cops said, you need to divorce him. If I come back in a week from now and you're not gone or divorce hasn't been filed, we're taking him to jail. That's it. So I guess that's how it was back then. Nowadays, if there's a domestic incident and the police come out, they have to take somebody to jail, one or the other. That's just how it is. So they end up getting divorced, and he turns into this weird, creepy dude with the porno stash. Creepy, guys. That guy is just creepy. So basically, this dude hates women. Just hates them. Hates all women, especially after the divorce happens. He's just like, he's done. He's done with women. And he had an overbearing mother. Connect the dots. So this is when he is after the divorce, he's living in Fort Lauderdale. And he decides to become a rapist. He's called the classified ads rapist. He's not connected to these crimes till after all of the serial murders and all of that happens. They end up connecting him back to these crimes. What he would do, ladies out there, I want you to pay close attention to this part, because with Facebook Marketplace and things like that we have nowadays, you just need to be aware of little tiny things that you could do to protect yourself. So he would go to the classified ads and he would find somebody who's selling, like, hey, Salacious, nice to see you. Sorry, I got distracted. I usually see Salacious in a different chat. Anyway, so he would find furniture being sold, like either a dresser or a desk or something like that. And he would call the person who's advertising this. And if a woman answers, he would say, hey, I really like that dresser, but if I come buy it, I'll pay full price. I'll even pay you extra. But if I come and buy it, is there somebody there that could help me move it to my truck? And of course, these are women during the day. Their husbands are at work. This is 1980 something. Maybe not most, but a lot of women were stay-at-home moms and they'd just be there alone during the day. The kids are at school and they'd say, no, nobody's here to help you move it. Sorry. And he's like, that's okay. I'll just come anyway and take a look. And then he would get there and the woman would be alone and he would rape them. This happened 50 times. 50 different women fell for this. And no harm, no foul. If he got there and the husband was there, he'd take a look at it and be like, oh, it's not exactly what I was looking for. Maybe next time. And just leave. So here's my point. 50 different women this happened to. My point is, if you are home alone and are trying to sell something online, which I've done. I do that all the time. I sell stuff. I get rid of stuff and sell stuff. When they say, hey, is somebody there to, help me move it? You say, oh, my husband's home, but he just sprained his ankle last week, or, oh, he's got a bad back, so he can't help you. But you never tell him you're home alone. Just don't tell him you're home alone. It's crazy. So, yeah, he would like have a rape kit in his car is what they called it. I'm not sure exactly what was in the rape kit, but something to tie him up, I guess. He gets convicted of rape in 1981, but he requested a new trial, which was granted, and then the charges were dropped after that. So, like he won his appeal. Yeah. Like Jess is saying in the chat, you always have a man around. Definitely. Even if you've been single your entire life, you say, oh, my next door neighbor can come over and help. And then once the guy gets there, be like, oops, turns out he's, he can't make it, or you know what I mean? Whatever. But just the mere fact of just making up a little white lie about somebody being there, or like I said, I think the best thing is your husband is home, but he's injured somehow and can't help you move the thing. Just keep it in the back of your head. All these little things in the back of your head that I'm telling you over these episodes, hopefully it will help somebody out someday. I mean, it's nothing you should even have to think of ahead of time, but at least if you have an idea in your head, you think about it, and then maybe you don't make a mistake, or maybe you don't be a victim. I love the way Zena's just showing us her butt right now. She's not a very good co-host today, is she? All right. So with that being said, before we get into when he moves to Tampa and starts, doing this Tampa stuff, let me just tell you a little bit about hawkhoundmedia.com. Now, do you like this shirt? Can you see this shirt? See this shirt right here? That's the Crimeland shirt. That's next week. This week is Overruled, but you can get either one of those shirts at hawkhoundmedia.myshopify.com. And there's new merch. There's new merch that just dropped this week. It's we have unhooded sweatshirts now, because before we had hooded sweatshirts, and I personally don't like the hood, so I asked for regular sweatshirts to be made, and they made them. Also, there's a Xena shirt or sweatshirt. It's very expensive. I'm going to try to get her on a t-shirt soon now too, so it's not as if, it's $20 instead of 50 or whatever ridiculous price it was. I don't know why they can't make a hooded sweatshirt for less than that, but we know that Xena needs her own shirt. She's been my co-host the entire time. Eventually Ava might get a shirt too. Xena's not being a very good co-host right now. Don't forget, guys, if you donate today on Rumble, you can donate immediately and I'll see it immediately. But if you donate on Buy Me a Coffee or become a Subscribe Star member, both Xena and Ava get a treat right now on air. I'll even make them big like this so you can see them. That is a really wide load. There you got, Xena. Sorry about that. Oh, man. Has anybody got a shirt yet? I love them. They're like the really soft material. I'm going to order more. It's like, how sometimes you get shirts and they're, they're stiff, or when you wash them, they get like hard if you don't dry them correctly with like a bunch of, fabric softener and stuff. These shirts are the soft one. Like, they're worth it because they're the ones that you just want to wear all the time because they're really comfy and soft. Anyway, let's get to Tampa. So he moves to Tampa. And I should get my notes back in front of me. In 1983. And all of a sudden, bodies start being found all over the place. Let's get the map up. I know how you guys like the maps. I lied. I'm the one that likes the maps. So bodies start being found, and he, over the next 8 months from the time he moves, he abducted, raped, and murdered at least 10 women that we know of in 3 different counties in Tampa, which is Hillsborough, Pasco, and Pinellas. Am I saying that right, Tampa people? I think I am. I know I got Tampa folks in the chat right now because I stalk all of you. That's how I know. Anywho, so the investigation involved personnel from all of the following departments: the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, the FBI, the Tampa Police Department, the Pasco County Sheriff's Department, and the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. Like, they know that they have a serial killer going on. Like, they're like, okay, we need to get everybody who can possibly help with this. We need to get them on there. And that's what they did, which kind of makes me happy because you know how sometimes like there's some sort of small town police investigation and they don't want to get the FBI involved because they can do it themselves. And their egos are so big that they don't want to bring anybody else in. They did that with the West Memphis 3 case. They didn't want to get any like the any of the higher up departments involved, which is crazy to me. If you have women that are 10 women in 8 months, all the same MO, all of them had nooses around their neck, but not just any nooses. They weren't like nooses. They were slip knots. So it was like he could torture them. He could choke them and then loosen it, and it was like a dog leash where he could lead them around and make them do whatever he wanted them to do. They all had some things were different because some of them were strangled, some of them were shot. I imagine the ones that were shot were like getting a little out of control and he had to just end it. They were all raped, sexually assaulted, and they were all different races too, which is unusual for a serial killer. Any of you who follow this sort of stuff know that usually there's a victimology where the race and kind of age and stuff like that kind of stay consistent for serial killers. Not in this case. I'm going to go over the victims now, and I think I had a picture of them. We'll put them up on the screen while I talk about them. These poor women. So here is the victims. Keep in mind this happened in 1984. just 8 months in 1984. It's just heartbreaking. And you can see there's different, different ages, different races, ethnicities. One thing they all had in common, or most of them had, not all of them had in common, that they were, most of them were either sex workers or worked at a strip club or something like that, which kind of echoes back to what his mom was doing at that, when he was a kid. It's like a hatred of his mother got turned into taking it out on these women here. So Artis Wick, age 20, was killed on March 27th, 1984. Nguyen Thai Long, age 19, was killed on May 13th, 1984. This is not even a month apart. They are like back to back to back to back to back. Michelle Denise Simms, age 22, killed on May 27th, 1984. So from May 13th to May 27th, that's the next one. Linda Nuttall, I don't have an exact date on this one. She was assaulted in May of 1984 and survived. She's his first victim that ended up surviving the attack. Elizabeth Loudenbach, age 22, was killed on June 8th, 1984. Vicki Marie Elliott, age 21, killed on September 7th, 1984. That's the biggest jump in time. From June 8th to September 7th is the biggest time. Their biggest, there's a word that I'm looking for. The longest time that that we know of, because these are just the ones that we know about. So I'm assuming that there may have been some other women that maybe weren't found or something, because if he's going March, May, June, and then jumping to September, I'm wondering if they were disposed in a way that they weren't found. There's alligators down there that, I don't know. They just, interval. That's the word. Thank you, Smith W. Interval. Where was I? Oh, September 7th. So Vicki Marie Elliott, 21, killed September 7th, 1984. Chanel Devon Williams, aged 18, killed October 7th, 1984. Karen Beth Dinsfriend, age 28, killed October 14th, 1984. Kimberly Kyle Hops, age 22, killed October 31st, 1984. Lisa McVey, age 17, assaulted on November 3rd, 1984. She survived. Virginia Lee Johnson, aged 18, killed on November 6th, 1984. Kim Marie Swan, age 21, killed on November 11th, 1984. If you notice, after this period of time in between June and September, it's October 7th, October 14th, October 31st, November 3rd, November 6th, November 11th. It is ramping up. It is ramping up to the point where if this guy wasn't caught, he would have this list of women would have gotten way bigger really stinking fast, in my opinion. These poor women. It just, this is one of those cases that when I was learning about this case, I was actually weeping at one point, and I'm built up quite a skin to where this sort of stuff doesn't affect me that much anymore. But when I started learning about these women, and how just truly evil this man was, and I think maybe it's because I had not heard of this case before I started researching it. I'm not sure. What I do know is that when I get very sad, what I like to do is have some coffee. Good coffee always helps everything. So if you also want some good coffee, I would just like to say that you should definitely look at some North Arrow Coffee. If you go to northarrowcoffee.co and use discount code HawkHound, you get 10% off of everything that you order. The great thing about North Arrow Coffee is that not only do you get 10% off with discount code HawkHound, you get 15% of every single sale, like the whole sale, not just the profit, the whole sale goes to pro-life charities. And you know how all of us here at HawkHound feel about pro-life charities. We need to do our best to save every single life, not just from serial killers, from all sorts of murder, like abortion. Anyway, they are single source beans, roast to order, very good stuff. I drink it literally all the time. It's a very, very good coffee, and it's for a good cause too. So don't forget northarrowcoffee.co. Use discount code HawkHound for 10% off. Now, back to the show. I wanted to get that out of the way because I want to talk about Lisa McVey now, and I don't want to be interrupted when I do, because this woman is absolutely amazing. Let me tell you about her. I'm going to show you a video about her a little later too, but let me tell you about Lisa McVey. Let's see. That's what I wanted to do. Okay. So you guys don't have to look at Cena's butt anymore. Lisa McVey was born, she was born. She was a victim of abuse even before she was abducted. She candidly recounted her experience of being abused. And the reason why I'm telling you about her previous abuse is because I think her life experience helped save her life when she was abducted by a stinking serial killer. So she was forced by her drug-addicted mother to move in with her grandmother at the age of 14. Before that, she was in and out of foster care, where she was abused by different people throughout her life. But when she moved in with her grandmother told her that, hey, my boyfriend, grandma's boyfriend, is basically going to teach you how to be a woman. So she was being abused by her grandmother's boyfriend from the time she was 14 till she was 17. And the grandmother stinking knew about it, which is crazy to me. The reason I'm bringing this up is because in the interviews that Lisa gave, she said before she went to work the night that she was abducted, she wrote a suicide note. She was going to go to work her shift because her boss asked her to, and she didn't want to let him down or have him short-handed. So she went to work, worked a double shift, and was going to go home and kill herself. What happened instead is that she was abducted by Bobby Joe Long. And when she's working till 2 a.m, and she's going to go to, she works at Krispy Kreme Donuts here. And she rides her bike. That's her form of transportation, is riding her bike. So she works at Krispy Kreme's on Florida Avenue near the corner of Waters Avenue in Tampa. And she said the way she rides her bike is she goes up Waters to Rome Avenue. And she lives down here. About halfway through, so she's riding her bike 2 a.m, she notices a very strange car kind of following her, and then it disappears. Then she sees, apparently the car was following her and made this turn. She sees it then parked in this parking lot here by this church, and she notices it, but keeps going, because she just wants to get home. It's 2 a.m. She's 17 years old. She just worked a double shift. Parked on the street here, there was an VW van. You know those old vans that like the hippies had? There was one of those, and as she passed it, she gets knocked off of her bike and just knocked to the ground. She has no idea what's going on till she's getting forced into a vehicle. Now, this girl was so stinking smart because from the minute she starts getting attacked, she starts making mental notes of everything that she can. Not a slug bug like the vans. I could probably pull up a picture of one. You know what I'm talking about. Those VW vans that the hippies had. Oh, hey, Mr. Ignoramus. Nice to see you there. Women shouldn't be driving. I mean, you've been in the car with me. You know how it goes. I almost killed you twice. Don't give him a wrench. He's never here. You didn't get a wrench. If you were here, you'd get a wrench. You know who I should give a wrench to, though, is Salacious, because she's really good about putting links in there for me or for other people. I imagine she would be for me, too. Okay, so back to the story. Stop distracting me. What are you doing? People are here for the story. It's true. It's very true. So yeah, VW van. So she passes the VW van and like the dude is hanging out like next to it and like just like clotheslines her off the bike. Holds her at gunpoint, blindfolds her, gags her, forces her into the front seat of his car where she is forced to perform a sexual act on him. Then he ties her back up, hands bound, blindfold, gag. But what she does is as he's blindfolding her, she clenches her jaw so that way when he's done tying it, when she unclenches, she can see just like a little bit right here. And she starts making mental notes. So she's peeking under. She notices that the car had white bucket seats and red carpet. She sees the word Magnum on the dashboard. She sees, it has a good sense of direction. She knows that they turned, he went back up to Sly Avenue, made a right, and then got onto the interstate because of the speed change and the pressure change in the car. So she knows they're going faster now. She knows that they drove for about 10 minutes up the interstate. She notices that the car started knocking when it went fast, so it needed a tune-up. She knows that when they got to the destination, it was not a residential area. It was a commercial area and was in an apartment that was above like shops. She notices or recalls there's 19 steps up to his apartment. 19 exactly. She knows that there's green carpet in the middle of the steps that have white and red speckles in the green carpet. When she gets there, on her way there, she rubbed, he sexually assaulted her, so he undressed her. She rubbed with her feet her clothes into the carpet. This is very important. These carpet fibers are what gets this guy. So she was so smart to just try to get evidence on her and leave evidence every step of the way. In interviews, which we'll watch later, she says that when she was on her way home, just addressing what Life to the Max just said, she wanted to go home and kill herself. Yes. And the minute that she was abducted, she knew that God wanted her to live. And she has spent her entire life helping people now. And she said that her abduction was kind of like a gift from God because she says she knows she would not have lived through the night if she had gotten home without getting abducted. I'm going to tear up again just recounting the story. I'm telling you guys, I cried so much when I was researching this one. This woman is amazing. Okay, so she's rubbing her clothes like into the carpet with her feet. And when they get to his apartment, she can see that he opens the door with his left hand. He's also, for the most part, holding the gun with his left hand. So he's left-handed. Okay. Lisa knew that she could not physically overpower Bobby Joe Long. But what she did know is that she's probably smarter than him. So she's used everything that she had, every gift that God gave her to get out of this situation. through the course of her being abducted, she found out that he was just in general mad at women, just women in general. We know, his mom, all of that. So she started talking to him, and she told him that, she's very sorry that I'm so sorry women treated you so poorly, but I'm not them, first of all. She said, I could treat you really well. I could be your girlfriend, and we could just make up a story about how we met. Like, I'm sure you were just having a bad day. You didn't mean to do this. Like, we could be together. You seem like a very good guy. You seem like a nice guy. And, I could take care of you, basically. She told him, so she's blindfolded the whole time. And the only time she was able to take her blindfold off was when she was in the bathroom. So, sorry, I always forget to check the other chats. News Now Enemy is just everywhere. Thanks, News Now Enemy. She goes into the bathroom. She takes her blindfold off. She leaves fingerprints on the mirror. And then she thought to herself, you know what? People wipe down mirrors. I need to leave fingerprints other places. She put fingerprints on the towel rack, like on the backside of the towel rack, under the toilet, like on the backside of the toilet, under the toilet seat, just everywhere she could that was a smooth surface that she could leave fingerprints. She did, because she knew if she dies, she wanted somebody to know that she was there. Excuse me. So she did that. She had a bobby pin in, and she ripped it out with her hair and threw it under his bed. She, when he was assaulting her, she touched his face and made a mental note, kind of like a blind person would do, of what his face looked like. She couldn't see it because she was blindfolded, obviously. But she made a note of his, where did his photo go? I took it down. Of his porn stash, and that he had pock marks on his face, and he had a cleft chin, all of these little details about his face, the length of his hair, all of these things. She's making mental notes. So imagine being kidnapped for 26 hours, and she's remembering stuff from when she first got kidnapped. 19 steps, Magnum on the dashboard, all of these different things she recounts to the police afterwards. Crazy smart girl. She then told him, this is the thing that got him, because he said in an interview with the police later, she told him that she was the sole caregiver of her sick father, and that her dad depended on her to give him medicine and take care of him and all of that sort of stuff. As we know, she doesn't even know her father, as far as I can tell. Her mom was a piece of crap who basically sold her into sex slavery to her grandmother, who also knew that she was being abused. So she's got no good people in her life at all. But she made up this lie, and she told him that, and that's what convinced him to drop her off somewhere. So she convinced him to let her go. 26 hours later, they're back in the car. She doesn't know if he's going to kill her or going to let her go. He doesn't tell her that. It turns out he did let her go, but she doesn't know this at the time. So she's leaving fingerprints again everywhere she can. She was on her cycle at the time. She made sure to leave blood under his seat. She wiped it with her hand and put it under his seat. And this is pre-DNA, but there's still blood typing and stuff like that. I think DNA was pretty new at the time. There may have been DNA. But not a lot. We'll do that. I guess we don't need the map anymore. I'll bring that back up when we have videos to show. That's not good. Okay, so she's putting her DNA or, blood type. She's putting fingerprints. She's pulling her hair out and stuffing it in the seat. All of these little things. So he ends up dropping her off. They go back near her house, but not at her house, but back somewhere near her house, and drop her off. This is where she lived. She lived here. I'll show you her house. He drops her off near there, but not right there. This was the house that she lived in at the time. And she gets home, and you know how her grandmother and her grandmother's boyfriend's pretty much a piece of crap? She gets home, and they don't believe her. They think she just ran away. Now, in the meantime, they had called the police and reported her missing. So her grandmother's boyfriend beat her and questioned her for 5 hours. 5 hours before they called the police to say she was home okay. And when her grandmother called the police to say, she's back, she just ran away. You know, she says she's kidnapped, but of course the grandmother's telling the police she's fine, nothing happened. Meanwhile, this poor girl had been kidnapped for 26 hours. Crazy. But when they make the call to the police, the grandmother says, oh, she came up with this crazy story about being kidnapped. And the police are like, well, she's a minor reporting a crime, so we're going to have to take a statement. So they go and pick her up to make a statement. Thank goodness they did. Thank goodness that the grandmother mentioned that, because otherwise, who knows? If she was so used to not being believed, even though she was truthful, that she said that she was not even going to do anything about it. She wouldn't have done anything. Anyway, so the police come and pick her up to give a statement. And the first police to pick her up also don't believe her, because her grandmother's saying, no, she's lying. She didn't get kidnapped. Finally, Sergeant Larry Pinkerton believed her. He was a special victims detective. And once he started talking to her, and getting her story of all of these things that she remembered, the 19 stairs, the color of the carpet with the speckles in it, the magnum on the dashboard. When she got to the part about the red carpet, a light bulb goes off in Larry Pinkerton's head, because in the area at the time, all of these women are coming up dead, are coming up missing, coming up dead. And one of the things that the FBI found is that each one of those victims, maybe not each one, almost every one of those victims had red carpet fibers on their clothes, on their body, and their hair. So when she said that this car had red fibers, he's like, oh crap, I think we got him. So now they're like, okay, Lisa, you got to tell us everything you remember. Start at the beginning. Give me every single detail you can remember. And she knows a lot, because she made sure to make mental notes of every little thing that she could, even though she was blindfolded the entire time. So it's just amazing, this girl's memory. A lot of times when people are going through stuff like that, they block it out. It's not like they don't want to help. It's not that they don't want to remember. It's that they can't remember because it's traumatic. And when people are going through traumatic stuff, their memory gets blocked. It's not their fault. It just happens. So Lisa's able to sit down with a sketch artist and draw a picture of the suspect from what she felt on his face, the mustache, the length of the hair, all of that stuff. She knows approximately the area that they're looking for him in. She knows the make and model of the car, the color, make, and model, also the interior color of the carpet and the seats. And it's kind of, I don't really remember the 1980s that much, but I'm assuming white seats with red carpet and a black or gray car is unusual. I would think that that's not a normal color scheme. Maybe I'm wrong. But long story long is that 12 days after Lisa McVey Nolan, she's married now, her name's Lisa McVey Nolan, is released from this evil man, Bobby Joe Long is arrested outside of a movie theater. The police had a all points bulletin for this car. They found the car. They followed the guy. They arrested him. I'm going to play you a little thing now, because, man, this girl is a survivor. A survivor. Let me know if you guys can hear this. I think you should be able to. Let me just double check. You can't hear it. I knew I forgot a step. Let's try that again. Technical difficulties, as always. My computer's not working. However, I'm still blonde, so let's do this. Share audio. That's the part I forgot. This is Lisa McVey Nolan.
This guy, he knew what he was doing. He had me. Forgot. I could have been dead. I could have been lying down in some ditch or somewhere.
That's an interview from 31 years ago. She was talking about serial killer Bobby Joe Long. He killed at least 10 women in the mid-1980s, and tonight he still sits on death row. And one of his victims turned the tables on him, the one that got away. She gave police the details they needed to lead them to the serial killer.
Her amazing escape happened 31 years ago this week. In a Fox 13 exclusive, she tells Lloyd Sowers tonight how she did it and how her life has taken a surprising turn.
It seemed that every day another body was found. A serial killer was preying on women, many of them prostitutes from Tampa's notorious Strip. It was a frightening time.
It frightened me because where I worked at, I used to have to ride a bicycle. And I used to always wonder or worry, would I be the next victim? And then you think, it can't happen to me. But it did.
Lisa Nolan was just 17. She'd been in foster care and sexually abused by a relative's boyfriend. She thought about suicide, even on her way home that night, from her job at a donut shop. He grabbed her off her bike.
I remember pleading with God, whatever you do, just don't let him kill me.
He was serial killer Bobby Joe Long, who had eluded police and
porn
murdered and
stash.
raped at least 10 women. And so it began for Lisa.
Held 26 hours, gunpoint. He raped me over and over again, lost count.
Lisa was tied up and blindfolded, but she says being a victim of abuse in the past actually helped her deal with the killer.
So I told him, I said, listen, it's unfortunate how we met. I could be your girlfriend. I could take care of you. And no one ever has to know. Reverse psychology, I guess. Coddling him like a 4-year-old child. It worked.
Under her blindfold, she got a glimpse of the Magnum nameplate on his car. She counted the number of steps up to his apartment, made sure to put her fingerprints all over his bathroom.
At one time, he placed my hand on his face. I saw his face through my hands. Pop marks, small mustache, small ears, short hair, clean cut. Kind of stouty, but not overweight, big guy.
At one point, she told him she had to care for her sick father. Finally, after 26 hours, he dropped her off not far from where the ordeal began.
So he drove off. I pulled my blindfold down. The first thing I saw was this gorgeous, beautiful oak tree. And that's the moment I knew my life was about to change for the good. Branches of new life.
A life 31 years later as a deputy sheriff.
No one's going to get hurt on my watch. That was my motivation to become a police officer.
And I love every single student in this school.
Lisa is now a school resource officer at a middle school not far from where it all happened,
This is my calling.
working to protect kids from the kind of monster that preyed on her, who still sits on death row, still alive 31 years later.
And if you got a call tonight saying that they're going to execute him tomorrow, do you want to go?
Yes. If the governor calls me up and asks if I want to sit in the execution, yes.
She says she'll wear a T-shirt with Long's name on the front.
And on the back, overdue. Long being his last name. Long overdue. Exclamation point.
I like helping children.
She loves her job, and she doesn't have the nightmares that used to haunt her.
It's like in my dreams, I'm always being hurt. I want to finally one day not hurt. And just to be able to let that pain go, you know, and be healed.
She says her healing is protecting others.
I'm not a victim. I'm no longer a victim. I'm a survivor and I'm a warrior. There's no victim here.
A story of empowerment from the clutches of a killer. The one that got away is now the protector. Lloyd Sowers, Fox 13 News.
That is just like an amazing story to me. Just an amazing story. I cannot believe the strength that this woman has. The absolute strength. We're going to get into his trial now, and then I have another video of her that's kind of a longer interview that she did, and we're going to do that exclusively on Rumble. If somebody could put the Rumble link, Rumble or Odyssey, in the chat. We're turning off YouTube is basically what I'm saying, because like I said, YouTube's kind of, we have a love-hate relationship, and we're going to not share this part with them because I don't want to. So please, if you are on YouTube at all right now, go over to one of the other. I'm streaming to 8 different places right now. So you can go to Rumble, you could go to Odyssey, you could go to Twitch, you could go to DLive. Any of those will work. And as soon as I'm done telling you about how he was arrested, we're going to just turn off YouTube. So get over there now. Finding the Faith, put the Rumble link in the chat for me. I appreciate that. Finding the Faith. That'll work. Any of the other ones will definitely work too. Like I said, DLive, Twitch, Odyssey, or Rumble. We'll stay on those. So 12 days after Lisa McVey Nolan's release from this evil man, Bobby Joe Long was arrested outside of a movie theater. On November 16th, 1984, Long was charged with the sexual battery and kidnapping of McVey. Long signed a formal Miranda waiver and consented to questioning. He denied everything at first, obviously, but because she is such a smart cookie at the age of 17, there's no denying it, because they went to his house and they found her fingerprints and her hair and her barrette and all of this stuff that she did, her blood in his car, all of these things. So he ended up saying, yeah, you got me. I did it. Now, keep in mind, you remember from the story earlier when he was in Miami, he had been convicted of another sexual assault in Miami that he ended up getting out of. So he's thinking, okay, they got me for this sexual assault, whatever. I'll probably, even if I get convicted, I'll be out in no time. However, because of the fact that Lisa ground her clothing into that carpet in that car, this connected him to all of those other murders. I'm going to read their names again just so we remember who we're talking about here. Artis Wick, age 20. Nguyen Thai Long, age 19. Michelle Denise Simms, age 22. Lisa Nuttall, age 33. Elizabeth Loudenbeck, age 22. Vicki Marie Elliott, age 21. Chanel Devon Williams, aged 18. Karen Beth Disenfriend, 28. Kimberly Kyle Hops, age 22. Virginia Lee Johnson, age 18. And Kim Marie Swan, aged 21. All of these women, because of what Lisa did, they were able to connect him to their murders. After the detectives procured a confession for the McVey case, they started their questioning started focusing on unsolved sexual battery homicides in the Tampa Bay area. As the detectives questioned Long about these murders, he replied, "I'd rather not talk about that." Of course, it didn't matter if he talked about it or not, because the FBI was on the case and they had compared these carpet fibers. And it's not even just that the carpet fibers kind of matched. It was that they were an exact match. These are the carpet fibers. They had the same sort of dirt on them. Like, they didn't just match the carpet fibers. They matched that these were the carpet fibers that were in his car. At this point, Long stated that the complication of things sure have changed since you came back into the room. I think I might need an attorney. No attorney was provided, and Long eventually confessed to 8 of the 10 murders in the Hillsborough County, and 1 in Pasco County. It was the red fibers for sure. That did it. Let's get Rumble in front of me since everybody's going over there. Hello, everybody on Rumble. Oh, yeah, this case got me too. Both Abby and Jess said that they're tearing up. They've got allergies, are tearing up a little bit. This case is just, it's amazing to me. Wait till we get to the part where, like, you're going to see her now, and she's like an amazing woman. All right, so on April 23rd, here's the fun part. April 23rd, 2019, then, or I guess he still is, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signed Bobby Joe Long's death warrant. It was the first death warrant that he signed since he took office in January 2019. Let's go DeSantis for this anyway. Long's subsequent appeals were denied, and he was executed by lethal injection on May 23rd, 2019, more than 30 years after his conviction. He ate his final meal at 9:30 a.m. local time. He requested roast beef, bacon, French fries, and soda. He was pronounced dead at 7 p.m. He made no last statement. Along with the family members of all of the women that I just mentioned a minute ago, the 2 surviving victims, Lisa McVey Nolan and Linda Nuttall, were there to witness the evil die that day. So what do you guys think of this story? That's the end of the notes. I'm closing the notes. I'm about to turn off the YouTube right now, and we're going to talk about it a little bit. Let me know in the chat if you want to call in. I appreciate it. If you did, we will do that over on Rumble and Odyssey and DLive and Twitch. Thank you very much for coming. If you're not going to stick around or come to another, if you're leaving now, we'll see you later. Thank you very much for coming. I really wish you would come over to one of the other channels. They're all listed in the description, and people have put them in the chat, and I appreciate each and every one of you. I'll see you in a couple minutes over there.
First Florida man was Hernando de Soto. First Florida man, Hernando de Soto. First Florida man was Hernando de Soto. Won't you so go show off your photos, throw up your Twinkies, throw up your hoe.